Hello everyone, let's go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5 and see how this particular phone holds up in 2024. Now, I will definitely tell you in a lot of different ways this phone is still worth buying. It's not that big of a deal, it's not that big of a difference in my personal opinion, because it's still a very good phone. But there's a lot of reasons why it might be better off to buy a different type of device than this particular phone. And we'll talk about that throughout this whole entire video. But if you do want to pick up some phones that I would probably recommend buying this particular year, links will be down in the description. You can get that from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5, this design is very interesting because it's either hit or miss, and people either love this design or they hate it. And I will tell you, I love the fold phones and the flip phones. I think they're really cool technology. I just think practically for a lot of people, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go and buy these types of phones, in my personal opinion. Now, with something like the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5, the thing you have to remember is that with this type of device, this is a new type of design. It's a new thing and it looks really nice. But the thing you're going to have to remember is that if you are getting a phone like this, you're going to have to get used to the design. So on the front side, you're getting this 7.6 inch. So on the front side, you're getting this 6.2 inch cover display. It's dynamic AMOLED and it looks pretty good. It's a good type of panel. It's 120 Hz and a fairly high resolution as well, which again is a very nice thing. And having this type of layout is actually fairly nice. And I do actually like having that inside of this type of device. It feels and looks very good, which is something that's really cool. However, when you flip it open, that's kind of the bigger device panel that most people will probably interact with. So with this panel, it's 7.6 inches. It's a foldable dynamic AMOLED display. It is a great panel, 120 Hz, whole punch display as well. And it's a good looking phone. I still think this is a very good looking device. And I do think if I'm going to go through and buy a phone, again, having this type of panel, it looks very good. And I don't really have too many things to complain about it here from like a device panel standpoint. Again, it's not like a perfect panel by any means, but I do think this is a good panel. It's just the design is a little bit awkward. And the reason why I say that is because this type of phone, for the most part, you're kind of stuck in the situation where this type of device panel, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go and buy it for the average person because it is a bigger type of panel. It's a bigger type of phone. And I don't know how many people would be comfortable using a phone like this because it is very big. So I think this in and of itself is probably one of the bigger things to kind of keep in mind here too, is if you are comfortable using a phone like this, but you're going to have to go through and basically get comfortable with it. That's kind of the big thing. Now you're getting a USB Type-C port on the bottom. You do get the S Pen stylus support, which is really cool. So you can use this on this type of device. Beyond that though, like on the back side, you're getting this standard, one side you're getting the screen, the back side of the screen. The other side, you're getting this frosted glass back, triple camera setup as well, which is really cool. The thing is though, with these types of phones, you're still getting a lot of features that the Samsung Galaxy S phone is giving you. Things like wireless and reverse wireless charging, getting IP certification as well. But I think practically for how expensive this phone is, I would rather just buy a Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra at this point. This phone is still a $1,400, $1,500, $1,800 phone. I don't even know it's cost so much money. It's been out for a little bit of time, so you can probably get it cheaper. But there's just so many things that I look about this particular phone, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go ahead and buy. I think you are so much better off buying a phone that is a little better in the design standpoint. And with this type of device, I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. I think for a lot of people, you probably won't even be comfortable using a phone like this. And I do think on an everyday basis, you're probably better off purchasing phones that are actually a little bit more suitable. And if you're okay with the folding mechanism, then that's totally fine. But if you're not okay with it, well then, you probably don't want to buy this phone because that's kind of the big thing going on for this particular device. Now, on top of that, from the camera side, this is also another interesting thing. So you're getting a triple camera setup on the backside, a 50 megapixel wide, 10 megapixel telephoto, then a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera. On the front side, you're getting a 4 megapixel wide angle camera, and then you're getting a 10 megapixel wide angle camera as well, depending on which display you're using. This is my whole entire thing about this particular camera, right? I just don't think this camera, it's a good camera, don't get me wrong, but this camera, when compared to the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra or the S23 Ultra, or maybe even the S22 Ultra, I feel like those phones are overall giving me a better experience than this particular device. So I keep kind of throwing it to myself, like, why would I want to go ahead and buy this particular device when I can go ahead and buy another type of device and get a better experience? Now, this phone, you're still getting 4K at 60 on the front, and you're still getting, 8K capability on the backside, which is really cool, and I do like that a lot. So I think this in and of itself is a very nice thing, and it's a very, very cool thing at the end of the day. But the thing I will always tell you is that, again, in my personal opinion, these types of phones are just giving you very, very average types of experiences. And that's kind of, they're not average, don't get me wrong, the cameras are great. But for how much money you're spending on them, it just doesn't, there's just not a trade-off. And because this camera is worse than the Galaxy S24 Ultra, it just doesn't make any sense to go and buy this camera or buy this phone at all for the camera. So kind of keep that in mind. Again, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but that is just one thing in the back of my head that I have to kind of keep throwing out and kind of thinking about. So again, from that side, that kind of covers it up there. From the software side, this phone is also kind of interesting. So this phone is still going to be supported with software. It's going to be supported for a couple more years. The kind of issue that we have with the Samsung Galaxy S, Z Fold 5 is that the S24s of this year basically showcased to us what Samsung is going to be doing for the next couple of years. These phones are going to be giving us, 4 years of software updates probably for the most part. But the Samsung Galaxy S20, the S24s of this year are basically going to be giving us 7 years of software updates, which means that the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6, the successor of this particular phone, is going to be giving us 7 years of software updates as well. So why would you want to go ahead and buy this phone, spend all that money on this device, when you can just buy the next generation of device, the successor of this one, and get a way better premium device? It just makes so much more sense to go and buy that phone than to buy this one. So once again, take that as you will, but that in and of itself is just another big, massive thing to kind of keep in mind. Again, I love these phones, they're great, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go and buy these phones just because they're in that particular standpoint. So once again, take that as you will, but that's kind of how I see these particular phones holding up, at least from the software side. Now on top of that, from the performance side, these phones are very, very good performing devices. You're getting that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset inside with 12 gigabytes of RAM. And this phone, pretty much in every single way, will basically be able to handle everything you'd ever want to throw at this particular phone. These phones are very, very good. They just handle performance greatly. And that is something that's very cool when you're buying these types of phones. Personally for me, I love being able to purchase these types of devices and have a device that's going to be very good from a performance level. And that is something that's really cool. So really, no matter what you're going to do with this particular device, you're going to have a really, really good time with it. And that's something that I actually like a lot about these types of phones. If I'm going to go through and buy a device, this is a really, really cool thing. And this in and of itself, the performance, at least beyond everything that I've kind of hit on here, even though it's not the best phone of all time, the performance of this phone is very good. It's only second to the, current generation that we have. But this phone came out last year, so it's not that big of a deal. But the performance is one of those things you'll probably never complain about, in my personal opinion. So in my opinion, to kind of sum up this video, I will tell you, there just isn't really a situation where I look at a phone like the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5 and I would feel comfortable recommending this phone to everybody. I think there's a select group of people that it might make sense to buy a phone like this, but beyond that, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to buy this phone, and you are much better off purchasing a device that might be better in some ways, like a Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, S23 Ultra, even a Galaxy S23 Plus I think is a better deal than this particular phone. So take that as you will, but that's kind of how I see this particular phone holding up from that particular perspective. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.